The Chris Watts case, a tragic and shocking crime that unfolded in August 2018, captured the attention of the world due to its disturbing nature and the unraveling of a seemingly ordinary family man. This report provides a comprehensive examination of the case, exploring the background, timeline, investigative processes, legal proceedings, and psychological insights surrounding the events. Through an in-depth analysis of the case's details, this report aims to shed light on the factors that led to this heinous crime and the subsequent legal consequences. Chris Watts, born on May 16, 1985, and Shanann Razuchek, born on January 10, 1984, were a seemingly happy couple residing in Frederick, Colorado. Chris worked for Anadarko Petroleum, while Shanann Watts was a vivacious and outgoing woman known for her passion for health and wellness. He met Shanann in 2010 and they married in November of the same year. Shanann Watts was facing health problems in 2010 when she met Chris. "I was in a really bad place and I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook," she said in an online video. "I was like, oh, what the heck, I'm never gonna meet him." Well, one thing led to another, and 8 years later, we have 2 kids, we live in Colorado, and he's the best thing that has ever happened to me. The couple moved to Colorado. They started a family. Bella was born in December 2013. Shanann was so excited to have her first baby girl, her family wrote, how she loved and cherished her. Less than 2 years later, in July 2015, Celeste was born. Oh, how Shanann was so excited to be able to have another child because of her battle with lupus, her family wrote. Every moment with her was a blessing. In 2018, Shanann became pregnant again with a baby boy she planned to name Nico.
We did it again. I like that shirt. Really?
Really?
That's awesome. So pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome.
Guess what, girls? Mommy has a baby in her belly. Are you guys excited? Yes? Are you really excited? Oh my goodness. Come give me hugs. Oh!
Shanann was an active user of social media, frequently sharing her life, family moments, and their lives seemed idyllic from an outsider's perspective, with social media posts portraying family vacations, celebrations, and affectionate moments. While their outward appearance seemed idyllic, reports and interviews suggest that Chris and Shanann Watts' marriage faced several challenges. These problems included financial strain, differences in personality and communication, and external stressors. On June 27th, Shanann took her 2 daughters on a 6-week vacation back home. Neighbors reported they heard constant screaming and fighting at the Watts household the night prior. While his family was gone, Chris decided to cheat on his wife. Chris had an affair with a co-worker of his by the name of Nicole Kessinger. Well, she worked for signed an agreement with Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. When she met Chris, he did not wear a wedding ring. He told her that he had broken up with his former wife and their divorce case would be finalized in a short period of time. Shanann noticed a change in her husband's behavior and attitudes while she was away. Shanann would constantly text and call Chris while she was away with their daughters. She would receive little to no response from him. Police reports show that he was conversing with Nicole while ignoring his wife. On July 14th, Chris told Shanann that he did not want to be together, and he did not want the baby. Shanann did not want this, so she suggested marriage counseling, but he refused. Chris and Nicole began to be more exclusive amongst each other and started to send nude photos, and Chris would research vacation spots for the two. Nicole knows that the two were together because her Google history shows her searching, "Man I'm having an affair with says he will leave his wife." July 31st is when Chris flies to North Carolina to see his family, but he's still having an affair with Nicole.
Can't run.
Now I can hug you. Now I can hug you. Come here. Come here, little girl. Hey. Hey. Airplane. I know. I did. Yes, I did.
Family reports that during the visit, Chris was more quiet than usual and very distant. Shannon cancels her gender reveal party because she told a friend that her and Chris are no longer compatible. But Shannon made continuous efforts to keep the marriage together, such as purchasing marriage counseling books, constantly talking to Chris, and even handwriting him a letter about how she felt. Shanann texted a friend on the 7th of August 2018, alleging Chris was growing distant from her because he did not want a third baby, and also sending her close friend more text messages about her marriage, stating that he hasn't touched me all week, kissed me, talked to me, except for when I'm trying to figure out what is wrong, Shanann explained in another text. We've never had a problem in our relationship like this. No joke, never. This is total left field. I just want to cry, she wrote. What if he really doesn't love me anymore? She texted, adding, he said we are not compatible anymore. He refused to hug me after he said he will try to work it out. Said he thought another baby would fix his feelings. Infidelity wasn't the only problem the couple faced. Mounting debt and struggled to make ends meet. The combination of a mortgage, credit card debt, and other financial obligations reportedly put considerable pressure on their marriage. Shanann Watts was an independent sales representative for a multi-level marketing company called Lavelle, promoting products related to health and wellness. This job involved significant time and effort, including social media engagement and networking. While Shannon was on a work trip in another state, Chris was in charge of watching the daughters. On August 10th, Chris would lie to his neighbor, asking if their daughter could watch his daughters so he could attend a football game when in reality he was going out that night with Nicole. Chris decided to take Nicole Kessinger on a date to the Lazy Dog Sports Bar and Grill in Erie, Colorado on August 11th. According to the Frederick Police Department, Shanann grew suspicious when Chris spent over $60 on their joint account. She looked up Lazy Dog menu that same day, trying to find out if he'd purchased 1 or 2 meals at the establishment. Shannon's work friend who attended the trip with her, also named Nicole, dropped Shannon off home at 1:48 a.m. Shannon's friend Nicole texts Shannon later that morning to check in, and she receives no response. This leads Nicole to take her and her son to Chris' house, but she gets no response. Nicole then calls Chris, who was at work at the time, and asks him about Shannon, but he says she said that she was going on a play date. Nicole does not believe this answer because she knew that Shannon had a doctor's appointment, so Nicole called the Frederick Police Department. A Frederick police officer arrived to conduct a welfare check at about 1:40 p.m. During the welfare check, Chris gave the police officer permission to search the house, where the family dog was discovered unharmed, but no sign of Shanann or the girls was found. But they discovered Shanann's purse containing her keys and the children's medicine. Her phone was later located between the couch cushions. Her car, which still contained the girls' car seats, was in the garage. And Shanann's wedding ring was found on the bedside table.
How you guys doing? What's that?
Do you remember me?
Yeah.
Hey man,
How you been?
Hi.
You Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. So what's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend,
All right.
and I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well, and she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls, and she was very distraught over the weekend, wasn't eating normally or drinking, and we kept trying to force it on her because she's pregnant. Her husband and her supposedly are separating, but she didn't know this. She thought they were just having issues. He disclosed that to me today.
Okay.
Because I called him and I was like, have you talked or heard from Shanann since she left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I've called, I've texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are by the front door.
She only has one vehicle?
No, they only have the one vehicle in his work truck.
Okay. That's what I'm asking. There's
She
not
took
a...
the girls and went on a play date, but they're 4 and 2. She went on a play date. Why wouldn't she take in a car? They're both in car seats. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and she didn't go to the doctor's appointment.
Okay. No answer on the phone. Husband's on his way.
Supposedly, but he said that 30 minutes ago when I called him again, and he said there's 45 minutes out still. And I know the code to the door.
You do?
I do, but there's a thing on it. There's a... No, it'll... Even Chris knows you can do it. There's a... They have the thing flipped up here.
Oh. What about the garage door?
I don't
Is
know.
there...
The alarm goes off.
Do you mind calling him and seeing if we can get a passcode to this and get me permission to go in?
Okay.
I'm just gonna check the back, see if I can see anything. Scott, how you doing?
How's it going?
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that, yeah.
She would drive? Okay.
That's me. Yeah. The neighbors went and checked his cameras and they said that a white car drove away at 1. It was me though. That was me. I dropped her off.
That was the last action on my camera.
Okay. That's throughout the whole day, or?
Besides Chris leaving.
Well, yeah. I was
What about the, there's no way you can look for the day? During the daytime?
What?
her phone.
Her phone's here?
Yeah.
Her phone's here.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from
From
home.
home.
Oh, from home?
She works, this is her lifeline. So yeah, that thing turns back on, it's gonna start blowing up. Oh yeah, trust me.
Krista.
It was shut down?
She's in the flight,
Yeah.
right? Well, it was originally under the pillow on the couch. You know her passcode?
I don't know her passcode.
It used to be 2385, and now it's 6 digits.
It's the baby's due date.
1/31/8/19. Where's Krista?
That's it.
Hang on.
Nothing on there.
What's that?
Nothing on there.
We just have
My
Chris
camera.
backing the truck up to the garage.
Lay down.
Loading my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I had from the toolbox. I knew I was going to have to do some pumping into rubbers today. That's why I was out so far.
Is this on continually
Yep.
recording?
Yep. Well,
It's not, is it
any
motion or is it?
event,
Okay, so it's motion.
Any motion event that happens, but I get cars driving from this street, and this is him at 517.
I usually park out there on the side. I just want to get everything back in. Be easier, so lugging everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in. What security system do you have?
Xfinity.
Oh,
You can see this car starting to drive down the street.
That ain't one.
oh, look, okay.
See what I'm saying? It picks up all the way down there.
That's cool.
He's next door.
Can we go?
I was talking about dispatcher. It'll be close for.
Cause yeah, we can pick up cars coming this way. I get anything coming this way and making this turn. So, and usually at night I pick up the cars pulling a U-turn. So unless they pulled right here,
Yeah.
but I would have caught her walking out. Diesel.
Here's good.
So yeah, I thought nothing.
Nothing for the rest of the day.
No, that's it.
She's pregnant as well.
How far along?
15 weeks. That's why her friend said it was low blood sugar.
And see, I've got her friend leaving out here at 2 in the morning, I think. So, my camera. Did you go check if anything was missing around your house?
There wasn't nothing. It was like all the old blankies and about it. And then her linen was on the nightstand. Her phone was still there.
She dropped her off at 1 in the morning, right?
My doorbell said 1:48. She came in.
Okay. It's not on this one, it'll be on this one. So this is her friendly name at 1:48.
So as soon as it picks up motion, it like back off. Okay. I thought you.
That was the start of the video.
Yep.
That was 1:48.
In the morning.
I didn't pick her up going into the house though.
It didn't. And I usually pick him up when he comes walking through here.
Mm-hmm.
I pick him up. So it doesn't show her walking into the house. But she would have walked by where he just off.
And our remote on the outside doesn't work anymore. It got wet and the whole radio on the back.
So yeah, that was it.
All right. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Hopefully something comes up here.
Yeah.
Mind if you just want to go talk to him? I'm going to get his info real quick.
He's not acting right at all.
No.
He's never fidgety. He's never rocking back and forth. And if you look, he never loads his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
Right.
And it doesn't look like he came from right here. It looks like he came from down the street. And then the other thing that doesn't make sense is why would he pull past this part? You can see him pull past.
Are you able to record this?
I'd have to call Comcast, but I can get him to do whatever. But watch, you'll see him get out. And he walks back and forth a couple times. To be completely honest with you, my wife and I were kind of wondering when she was on vacation if something happened, because I've heard them full out screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, and he gets crazy.
Does he? And that's pretty recently?
Yeah.
The next day, Watts initially told police that he had no idea where his family might be and that he had not seen his wife since 5:15 a.m. the previous day when he left for work. He gave the most unconvincing interview I have ever seen. It almost seemed like Chris was smiling. An unbelievable calm throughout the interview he gave to Denver news station KMGH-TV and KUSA-TV outside the house, pleading for the return of his wife and daughters.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like, I want them back now. Like that's what's in my head. Like, if they're safe right now, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe right now, that's the not knowing part. Like, if they're not safe, last night I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over by the kids running in the door and just like barrel rushing me, but it didn't happen. And it was just a traumatic night trying to be here.
You guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
What would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
After Watt's eerily calm news interview, the investigators handling Shanann, Bella, and Celeste's disappearance decided it was time to bring Chris in for an interview. In order to keep Chris cooperative and communicative, FBI agent Graham Coder spent hours with the then Frederick, Colorado resident to get an official statement. However, as there was a seeming lack of emotion coming from Chris during the investigators spotted a red flag. Specifically, Watts kept referring to his wife and daughters in the past tense. Not only did Chris said Celeste loved a certain pair of shoes, but he said his 4-year-old was a girly girl. Investigators decided to conduct a lie detector test the next day. Not to mention, this window of time allowed for investigators to look through Watts's technology for any additional information. And they found something. Chris was having an affair with a coworker, something he previously denied. This new information changed the questioning Lee had in store for Watts. With this new information about the affair, she has to be careful, Weld County District Attorney Michael Rourke stated, because there's a fine line to walk there between employing investigative techniques to get the information that you need, while not going so far as to completely cause the suspect to shut down. Through knowing that Chris was lying about being faithful, Agent Lee was able to place subtle pressure on the suspect. I hope that, if you did have something to do with their disappearance, it would be really stupid for you to come in and take a polygraph today, Lee said to Watts before the polygraph. After a line of questions, it was ruled that Chris had failed the polygraph test.
So I brought Graham in here because we want to talk to you about the results, okay?
Sure.
So, it is completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise.
Chris,
I know.
Chris, stop. It's time.
Just stop for a minute. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
There's a reason you feel sick to your stomach. And when people hold stuff inside, it makes you physically ill. And I can just tell on your face, I could tell from the second you walked in that you were wanting to just come clean and just be done with this. And I appreciate that because you knew sitting down in that chair that you weren't going to pass today. And you knew I was going to find out because I told you that. And then you continued to stay knowing that you could, at the end, say, you know what? I just need to get this off my chest. Like, I just need to tell you what happened. We're not here to play games. We're not here to do any of that with you. We just want to know what happened. So can you start from the beginning and tell us what happened?
Everything that I've told you, I did not lie on this polygraph. I don't know how much I could tell you right now. Like, I did not.
Yeah, it's not even an option right now because you did not pass the polygraph. So I know you were being deceptive. So that's not even an issue right now. The issue right now is what happened to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. That's the issue right now.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about that. I know you want to tell us. I can see it in your face. Holding this lie in is going to do nothing for you.
I know this. Like,
Okay.
I'm not like trying to like cover things up. Like,
Yeah, but you kind of are because it's normal. Normal people would do that. Normal people that make a mistake initially are going to go, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. That's normal. I would expect that. It's just like if you ask your kid, did you write on the wall? And they go, no. And you're like, you have a marker on your hand. Like, I know you just wrote on the wall. And they're like, oh, okay. That's a natural reaction that someone's going to initially lie about something like that and then eventually tell the truth. So this is your eventually telling the truth time. This is where the rubber meets the road, Chris. Like, don't let this continue any longer, please.
I'm not trying to make anything continue. Like, I want them back home, like.
But you know they're not coming back home. You know that.
I don't know in the back of my head. I hope they come back home.
But you know they're not.
I hope they come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know they're not coming back home.
As a way to explain away his failing result, Chris admitted to an affair. The investigators let Chris know that they already knew about the infidelity, which indirectly suggested that they knew more than they were letting on. In order to make Chris open up to them, Coder and Lee began painting Shanann as the villain. Vilifying Shanann, it's a technique that we can use to eventually get the actual truth, Lee explained. We just needed to find Shanann and the girls.
This should have been the happiest time of your marriage. Okay? You and Shanann. This should have been the happiest time. She's making a little money. She's making good money. You're making great money. You both have a job. You have beautiful kids. You have a beautiful house. You're in Colorado. Clean air, good people. Okay? And on top of that, you look pretty good now. You're pretty fit. Okay? This should have been a time in your marriage where you guys were happy and thriving and productive. Okay? And I believe that Shanann's the reason none of that happened. I believe that she's a controlling person. Maybe doesn't listen to you as much as she should. I think that she can do whatever she wants and you can't. Okay? I think if you were to go to a restaurant, she would order whatever the hell she wants. And as soon as you order a nice steak, she says, whoa, buddy. Okay? A woman that lets her man do all of the backpack packing and all of the cooking.
I'll do all the cooking, but like she cooks like I
Yeah.
do like some things here and there.
Okay. That's because you're a good person, and I think that she started on the path to leave the marriage. Okay. It's ironic that we're talking about you and Nikki. I think that she was the one who started on that path first. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't have thought about that.
Okay. And the other thing I think is interesting is, even though she is that type of person that's controlling, doesn't listen, does what she wants, is walking away from her kids, here you are defending her. Because to your core,
You want to take care of the people you love. Okay. And that's the reason why we want to give you an opportunity today to just help us find them.
Coincidentally, at the same time, Nicole comes forward to police about her side of the story. Chris continues to deny his involvement with anything, but it is later seen that the bed sheets that were missing from his household were found at his work site. The more Lee and Coder pushed for answers, the more deflated Watts became. So Christopher Watts said he would tell the truth after speaking with his dad, arrest documents say. During the conversation with his father, he claimed Shanann had strangled the girls in response to his request for separation, and that he had then strangled her in a fit of rage and transported the bodies to a remote oil storage site leased by his employer, Anadarko Petroleum. 11:30 p.m., Christopher Watts is arrested on suspicion of 3 first-degree murder charges and 3 charges of tampering with a deceased human body.
I just find it hard to hear you talk about just having this emotional, conversation with Shanann, and you're bawling and crying together, and you have not shed one tear in 2 days that you've been here. Not one. And help me understand that, because I don't get it. These are your baby girls, and you have not shed one tear over them not being around. Chris, I lose my 4-year-old in the store for 10 seconds, and I start to go panic. Panic. I have not seen any of that from you at all. Help me understand that.
I love those girls. I would never do any of this because I haven't shed a tear. You get
no, that's weird. Is that weird?
Don't look into that like I don't love my kids.
Tell
I love
me,
my wife.
explain to me. You're crying with your wife that you're leaving her.
Yeah.
But you don't cry that your 2 little baby girls
I'm hoping they're still around somewhere. I'm hoping they're still somewhere.
Yeah, but you
alive.
don't have them right now. You're not reading stories to them at night.
I know.
You're not giving them midnight snacks. You're not giving them their medicine. You're not waking up with them in the morning.
I know this.
So that should cause you pain.
It does cause me pain.
But I don't see that. I don't see that. I want to see the Chris that cares. I want to see the Chris that, feels bad about what he did and wants to, get this off his chest and be done with this. And let us find your little girls so that they're not out there in the middle of a field or whatever somewhere. Don't do that.
I love those girls to death.
Then show us that. Show us that.
I don't want to protect her. What? I don't want to protect her. You don't want to protect her? I don't know what else to say. Huh? She hurt him? Yeah. And then what now? I freaked out, not hurt her. You hurt her. Did they leave after that for a long time? So she started hurting kids. Ever. Probably you guys want to. One, just a little bit. She smelled it. Or choking. No. I didn't hear anything. When I was downstairs, they came back up and they were gone. I don't know, me talking to her about that. Talking to her about separation and everything, about when she lost her. I don't know, what else to say, I freaked out. Those are my kids. So she, it's not that one time, you were leaving the place and going to work. And she freaked out over the separation and everything. Like, she laid back down, but that's when I went downstairs, but I heard like a little commotion upstairs, but I didn't think anything of it. And then we went back upstairs and she was never, I could see like, she was on top of the machine. What, choking her or? Did she kill her? They're blue. Both of them? Yeah. She took both of them to death. I freaked out in the champagne. How was it though? I couldn't like call the cops about it. So then we could do all the bodies off or something? I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I freaked out. I didn't know nothing else to do. I didn't know what to do. So she killed both CC and Bella, choked them to death. You lost it and choke her or? That's just rage. I mean, I hadn't.
The authorities located the bodies of the Watts family on the oil storage site situated approximately 3 miles north of Roggen on August 16th. The girls' bodies were found in crude oil storage tanks, while Shanann was buried in a shallow grave nearby. Bella and Celeste's bodies had each been pushed through a hatch at the top of a different oil tank, with the lid being 8 inches, 20 centimeters, in diameter. According to the medical examiner, Bella had scratches on her left buttock from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. Once his family was found, he confessed to everything, Coder said. He knew he had no other choice. He told us what he had done. On the morning of Shanann's death, she had confronted him about cheating. Lee denied his wife's suspicions, but admitted he did not love her. Hence, the couple mutually agreed to end their marriage, and Shanann threatened to keep the kids away from him. Bella walked in when Lee was strangling her in their marital bed. He described Bella walking into the room, seeing Shanann's body and asking, "What's wrong with Mommy?" He said he carried his wife's body to his truck wrapped in a sheet, placed it in the back seat, and drove with Bella and Celeste to the oil work site about 40 miles east of the family's Frederick home. There, he said, he removed his wife's body as the girls asked him, "What are you doing to Mommy?" He said he doesn't recall his reply, but told investigators Cece was first, referring to his daughter Celeste by her nickname. Watts said he suffocated Celeste with a blanket in the back seat as Bella watched. He said he then threw Celeste's body down into an oil tank and returned to Bella, who asked him, "Is the same thing going to happen to me as Cece?" Chris said every time he closes his eyes, he hears the last words of his oldest daughter, 4-year-old Bella, "Daddy, no!" Bella Watts screamed as her father moved in to smother her with the same blanket he'd used to kill her sister Celeste moments before, crying. "I hear it every day when Bella was talking to me," Watts said. When she said, "Daddy, no!" Bella and Celeste's bodies had each been pushed through a hatch at the top of a different oil tank, with the lid being only 8 inches. Shanann's cause of death was strangulation, while an autopsy found crude oil in Bella and Celeste's throats, stomach, and lungs, showing that the 2 babies were smothered and not strangled. On August 13th, the day of the murders, Watts killed his family in the early morning. Watts called his daughter's school Primrose. He told an administrator that the kids would no longer be attending there. He also called a realtor named Ann Meadows with the intention of selling the family home and downgrading to something smaller. When she suggested an option for him to check out, He said he would drive past it on his way home from work that day. November 2018. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. The plea deals also included additional consecutive sentences for the unlawful termination of Shanann's pregnancy. She was 15 weeks pregnant at the time of her death, and other charges.
What I'd like to say to the court is that Shanann, Bella, and Nico are loving, caring people. They love life. They love being around people who love them. They always had good times. This is the first time they went to the beach this year, and they loved it. But God only knows what happened that night. Life will never be the same without Shanann, Bella, and Celeste and Nico. Had all their lives to live. They were taken by a heartless one. This is the heartless one, the evil monster, who dare you take the lives of my daughter Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them. And they also trusted you. The heartless monster, and then you take them out like trash. You disgust me. They were loving and caring people. You may have taken their bodies from me, but you will never take the love they had for me. They loved us more than you will ever know, because you don't know what love is. Because if you did, you would not have killed them. You monster, thought you would get away with this. I don't know how. The cameras do not lie. You carry them out like trash of the house. Yes, I seen the videotape. You buried my daughter Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave, and then you put Bella and Celeste in huge containers of crude oil. You heartless monster. You have to live with this vision every day of your life, and I hope you see that every time you close your eyes at night. Oh, I forgot. You have no heart or feelings or love. Let me tell you something. I will think of them every day of my life, and I love them every day of my life. Prison is too good for you. This is hard to say, but may God have mercy on your soul. I hope you enjoy your new life. It's nothing like the one you had out here. May the courts have no mercy on you. It's hard every day. It hurts in so many ways. I have heard people say that you're not a monster. No, you are not. You're an evil monster. Thank you. Love you, Shanann, Bella, and Nico. Love you, Pop and Dad. And one other thing. And Shanann says she is super excited for justice today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
I wanted to say thank you for this moment. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has prayed for our beloved family, who has sent gifts, cards to us from all over the world. I know God will put the evil people where they need to be. I also want to take the time to thank the town of Frederick, Greeley, FBI, the DA's office, the CBI, for exceptional work. We thank Nicole Atkinson, Shannon's neighbor Nathan, and his family. To me, they're our heroes. They really are. God bless. God makes no mistakes on who he puts in your life. Marriage is about love, trust, and friendship and unity. We marry for sickness and health, to death do us part. Our daughter Shanann loved you with all of her heart. Your children loved you to the moon and back. Shannon's family was her world. Shanann put a crown on your head. But unfortunately, the day that you took their life, God removed that crown. We loved you like a son. We trusted you. Your faithful wife trusted you. Your children adored you, and they also trusted you. Your daughter Bella Marie sang a song proudly. And I don't know if you got to see it, but it was Daddy, You're My Hero. I have no idea who gave you the right to take their lives. But I know God and His mighty angels were there at that moment to bring them home to paradise. God gives us free will. So not only did you take the family of four, your family of four, you took your own life. I want the world to know that our daughter and her children were so loved by us. There will always be protected by God and His mighty angels. I didn't want death for you because that's not my right. Your life is between you and God now, and I pray that He has mercy for you. From Shannon's mother, Bella Marie, Celeste Catherine, and Nico Lee's, Nana. Thank you, Your Honor.
Which you would like to make on behalf of the prosecution.
Yes, please.
Your Honor, there are no words to adequately describe the unimaginable tragedy that brings us before this court today. By my comments, I'm not even going to try to express the horror, the pain, or the suffering that the defendant has caused to these families, to this community, and to all who were a part of this investigation. However, I do want to spend a few minutes sharing with the court the details of the crime, as so far you've only had an opportunity to review the affidavit and a few facts here and there that have been offered to the court in the motions and pleadings that have been filed. The questions that have screamed out to anyone who will listen since August 13th of 2018 are why and how? Why did this have to happen? How could a seemingly normal husband and father annihilate his entire family? For what? These are the questions that only one individual in this courtroom or on this planet knows the answers to. I fully expect we will not receive the answers to these questions today, nor will we at any point in the future. I don't expect that he will ever tell the truth about what truly happened or why. Even if he did, there is no rational way that any human being could find those answers acceptable responses to such horrific questions. The best we can do is try to piece together some kind of understanding from the evidence that is available to us. And the evidence tells us this: the defendant coldly and deliberately ended 4 lives. Not in a fit of rage, not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. Shanann was 34 years old. She had married the defendant in November of 2012. Over the weekend leading up to August 13th, she had been at a work conference in Phoenix, Arizona, and returned home in the early morning hours of August 13th. We know that she got home about 1:45 in the morning. The doorbell camera on their home shows her arriving back home from the airport. Shortly thereafter, at least according to the defendant, they had what he referred to as an emotional conversation about the state of their marriage and about what their lives would look like going forward. What was said during that emotional conversation, only he knows. What we do know is that shortly after that, the defendant strangled her to death with his own hands. We know that he slowly took her life the morning of August 13th. We know that this was not done in an uncontrolled, vengeful manner that he tried to describe to agents from CBI and the FBI. If that were the case, you would expect to see vicious, horrible bruising about her neck, shoulders, and face. You would expect to see the hyoid bone in her neck broken. You would expect to see some kind of defensive wounds on his body as she struggled and fought for her own life. None of those are present. The only injuries that were on Shanann's body were one set of finger or bruising, what appeared to be fingernail or finger mark bruising to the right side of her neck. We know that our experts will tell us that it takes 2 to 4 minutes to strangle someone to death manually with their own hands. The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable. Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought is their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters. Why? Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her. Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all. But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless. The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera, backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed. In one final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In one final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations. He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his co-workers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media, asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks, or the coroner employees who had to conduct these autopsies, or the victim assistants who frantically attempted to ease the suffering of those affected. All of this, Your Honor, for what? Why? Why did this have to happen? His motive was simple, Your Honor. He had a desire for a fresh start, to begin a relationship with a new love that overpowered all decency and feelings for his wife, his daughters, and unborn son. While Shanann texted the defendant over and over again in the days and weeks leading up to her death, attempting to save her marriage, the defendant secreted pictures of his girlfriend into his phone and texted her at all hours of the night. While Shanann sent the defendant self-help and relationship counseling books, one of which, ironically enough, was thrown in the garbage, he was searching the internet for secluded vacation spots to take his new love in researching jewelry. And while Shanann took the girls to visit family in North Carolina, the defendant went to car museums and the sand dunes with his new girlfriend. The stark contrast between the subjects of their internet and text content is absolutely stunning. Even the morning after he killed them and disposed of their bodies, he made several phone calls. One was to the school where the girls were supposed to start, telling the school that the girls would not be coming to school anymore, that they were being unenrolled, presumably to give him some more time before law enforcement notification about them going missing. He contacted a realtor to start discussing the selling of his house, and he texted with his girlfriend about their future. None of this answers the questions of why, however. If he was this happy and wanted a new start, get a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage. Why did Nico, Celeste, Bella, and Shanann have to lose their lives in order for him to get what he wanted? Your Honor, justice demands the maximum sentence under the agreement reached by the parties. As you will recall, the agreement calls for life sentences as to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and all of those to run consecutively to one another. It also calls for the count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy as to Nico to run consecutively to counts 1, 2, and 3. I would suggest that the extreme aggravation present in the defendant's conduct and in the efforts that I have described mandate that the sentences for counts 7, 8, and 9, the tampering with a deceased human body, each be the maximum of 12 years, and that those sentences run consecutively to one another. It is very clear that each of these that these were not the subject of one act, but each oil tank that he walked up with his daughter's bodies and the hole that he dug for his wife and unborn son mandate a mandatory consecutive sentence. It's been alluded to this morning, but the defendant was certainly eligible for the death penalty in this case under the existing law in the state of Colorado. As you heard, Shanann's family strongly opposed my office seeking the death penalty and being bound to the criminal justice system for the next several decades. That's in large part, as you've heard, why we have reached the agreement that we have. 4 lives were lost at the hands of the defendant on August 13th for reasons that we will never fully understand, nor will we know. In the end, the Rusick family was much more merciful towards him than he was towards his wife, his daughters, and his unborn son. Prison for the remainder of his life is exactly where he belongs for murdering his entire family.
So the court has considered the arguments made by the attorneys. The court has considered the statements made by the victims in this case. The court's going to find that the plea agreement is fair and reasonable under the circumstances. I want to acknowledge the Rusick family as well as the Watts family that showing mercy on Mr. Watts is understood, and I respect that decision to request that the district attorney not seek the death penalty in this case. And so the court is going to accept this plea bargain under the circumstances. Words that come to mind when I hear the evidence in this case are a senseless crime and the viciousness of the crime. And equally aggravating in this court's determination is the despicable act of disposing of the bodies in the manner in which they were done in this case. I've been a judicial officer now for starting my 17th year, and I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate, and anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. So the court is going to sentence Mr. Watts as follows. With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to Shanann Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed with no possibility of parole. And that is going to run consecutively to all but counts 3 and 4. With regard to count 2, as it relates to murder in the first degree with Bella, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to count number 3, the court is going to sentence you as it relates to Celeste to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to counts 4 and 5 relating to Bella and Celeste as a different theory of first-degree murder, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections, and legally those sentences must run concurrently as a different theory of first-degree murder. Recognizing the unlawful termination of pregnancy for the unborn child that has been named Nico, the court absolutely believes that the maximum sentence of 48 years would be appropriate to run consecutive to the other charges, with an additional mandatory parole period of 3 years as set forth by statute. With regard to count number 7, as it relates to tampering with a deceased body, as well as counts 8 and 9, each a class 3 felony, the court is going to impose a maximum sentence of 12 years each for those counts to run consecutively to the other counts. The court is going to order that the statutory fees be paid and court costs. The court's going to grant the prosecution 91 days to file a notice of restitution, and that will be the sentence of the court. We will shortly be in recess. I would respectfully ask the parties that you remain in your seat. There is a plan by the deputies on allowing people to exit the courtroom, so please remain seated until you are authorized to leave the courtroom based on the direction of the deputies. Deputies, I would respectfully ask that you take this defendant into custody and have him serve the rest of his life in the Department of Corrections. We are in recess.
Public reaction. The case received significant media attention, and many were shocked by the brutality of the crimes. The tragic nature of the murders, particularly the deaths of 2 young children and a pregnant woman, captured national and international headlines. Conclusion. In the depths of the Chris Watts case, we find a tragic tale that echoes with heartache and shattered trust. As the details unfurl, we're reminded of the fragility of human relationships and the darkness that can lurk within seemingly ordinary lives. The conclusion of this harrowing story leaves us with heavy hearts, mourning the lives lost and the pain endured by those left behind. It serves as a somber reminder of the capacity for cruelty that can exist even in the closest of connections, urging us to cherish and protect the love and compassion that binds us together.
My daddy is a hero.